I'm going to say something that's probably a little controversial. No surprise there. But there is nothing that can happen that is at the expense of someone else. It's not possible. It's not possible. So even if you have done something that you think has hurt somebody, even if you do it on purpose, even if you have taken an action that you believe to be at the expense of someone, it isn't. You can't actually hurt them. And the same is true for you. If something has happened that you perceive to be at your expense, look again. Because everything is always all to our benefit. It can't be any other way. It's all always operating for the highest good. We can't escape that. That is the way the universe works. And highest good means the good of everybody. It's not some moral imperative where 10 people die to save 100. No, that's not how the universe works. It's not limited the same way that humans are in action or in perception. It aligns everything to be for the benefit of all. And the benefit of all means the benefit of each and every individual, specifically, uniquely. Your benefit, your good, is a part of the highest good. It's not the highest good if it's not good for you. So everything that is happening is always good for you and everyone. There is no expense of anybody else. Okay, so adding on to this, I understand that this is where things get confusing. This is where fear sets in. This fear that if we recognize ultimately that suffering is an illusion, that anything other than well-being is an illusion, that harm is not possible, that nothing real can be threatened, can be harmed. If we start recognizing this, the brain pipes up and says, well, then won't we just start harming each other left and right? If there are no consequences, if there is no moral implication, if we don't have morality, then aren't we all just going to start going crazy? Anarchy. That's the fear, right? That is the fear. That is exactly why masculine energy, why ego is and does what it does, because it is afraid that if it is not in control, then all hell breaks loose. That kind of thing. If shame is released, if that's not a tool that we're using to limit ourselves, and we're just shameless and happy and free, then are we all just going to shit on everything, including each other? That fear, like all fear, is false. It's not based on any truth. It is not based on reality. The reality is, once it is understood that there can be no harm, that everything actually is in perfect divine order all the time. There are no mistakes. There are no mistakes. Everything that happens is correct. It's all in perfect order, and it is all always working towards the highest good, which, again, is all-inclusive. The highest good is the good of everyone, every being, everything specifically. No one and nothing is left out of that equation. It is the good of all, and thus each individual is benefiting specifically as a part of that. Once it's understood, once it is realized by consciousness, we'll speak in the individual experience of consciousness, that harm is not real. And I would posit this realization, genuine realization, can only take place truly when it is experienced by the self, as in there is an experience of what would appear to be harm of self. Something happens. Something happens in your life experience that appears to be harmful to you. And perhaps it is specifically, either it is sort of a general thing. I think you get two versions of it, because it's important to realize that life events, things that do not involve other people but appear to be harmful, are not so part of the divine plan playing out again, but also to realize specifically that another person interacting with you in a way that is perceived as harmful, whatever that is, however that looks to you, having that experience of what appears to be another person harming you, and being able to step out of that illusion into the higher perspective that everything is to my benefit. Everything always is to my benefit, including this. There is no harm here. There cannot be harm where there is benefit. I am benefiting universally, no matter what. I cannot do anything but benefit. And when you're in that place and you realize that perspective, there is no... It's the true forgiveness that is realizing there is nothing to forgive, because nothing has gone wrong. There has been no harm. Nothing has been done to me that I then would forgive. It's all actually working out for me. It's only helping me. So why would I forgive somebody when they have not trespassed against me? There's no trespass here. It's all working for me. So genuinely, there is no asking of apology. There is no need for apology. All is well. All of this has gone according to plan, and the plan is everything works out for me, for my good, for my joy, for my benefit. So no matter what it is, thank you. Thank you for helping me. And when that is realized in personal experience, that's it. There's no urge to retaliate. There's nothing to retaliate against. There hasn't been an attack. There hasn't been a threat. Everything is good. Again, thank you for this experience. I am standing in the place of my knowledge that all is well, that all of this is working out for me, and so whatever it looks like, it's in my favor. So then there's no power struggle. I feel no need to respond, to react, to retaliate, to amend or make right anything. There's nothing wrong to make right. It's all right already. So in having that experience now, I have no desire to impress that harm upon anyone else, to lash out, to spread my hurt, because I'm not perceiving hurt. If I am not perceiving hurt, then I'm not spreading it. If I am feeling that I have been wounded, then perhaps I have the inclination, whether conscious or not, to spread that wounding. If I'm not perceiving myself as wounded, if I can recognize there is nothing that has gone wrong here, I am not harmed in any way, no matter what is happening, there is no harm befalling me, then I just carry on. I feel no need to spread some bad feeling because I am not feeling bad. Because you cannot make me feel anyway. You can't make me feel bad. And why would I feel bad when nothing has gone wrong or possibly can? And even in this great storm that has brewed up around me, in front of me, appears to be happening to me, everything is going right. There's nothing to feel bad about here. So I will not be spreading bad feeling. and in recognizing that I can do no harm to another, all of the power of it is removed. And because all of the power of it is removed, ego is no longer enticed by it. This whole notion of being able to harm and being able to be harmed is only appealing to ego because of the drama, because of the illusion of power that's there and powerlessness, and it likes to experience both sides of that. But if that whole illusion is shattered, and I realize I have no power over you, I have no power to harm you, and you have no power to harm me, then there's nothing in it for ego. It loses whatever appeal it might have had. Now the illusion is shattered. There's no more drama. Ego feeds on drama. If I'm no longer buying into this story that I have hurt you or you have hurt me, or that's even possible, if I'm not buying into that, then I don't feel compelled to engage in it. It's no longer a compelling narrative. It was a very compelling narrative, and ego, knowing that, will try so hard to convince you back into it. It'll try to reinstate that story because it was a really good one, because it was the one that created all of this drama and seriousness that's necessary for ego to sustain itself. If we're not buying into the illusion, then ego doesn't have a platform to stand upon. So it's going to work pretty hard. And what could be more convincing than the illusion of harm? I mean, that's pretty convincing, right? So it will return to that again and again. This whole notion of playing the role of victim or villain. Those are, every role is a version of something like that, ultimately. Or hero, which would be kind of like the empowered victim, perhaps. Moral superiority there. But once it's realized, genuinely, that harm is not a thing that we are capable of inflicting, that it is all an illusion, then it loses its novelty, it loses its temptation, it's just no longer remotely interesting because there's no actual power in it. It was all about this illusion of power and the power play. Once that is revealed to be just false, just a made-up story, none of that is true, there's no more pull. It has no more draw. It just becomes boring. It's boring. And perhaps it will be true that in my simply living my life and being myself, that someone will perceive that something I have done, I feel no inclination to create intentional disruption. That's not my conscious intention in the lives of anyone. But I am aware that the soul that I am has agreed to play out certain scenarios. And that in some of those scenarios, the role that I agreed upon playing is that of the perpetrator, is that of the one who appeared to be inflicting harm. I agreed to a bunch of other scenarios that were the flip, where my role was to experience what was perceived as harm inflicted upon me. No such thing actually took place, and all of that was a part of learning. It's a lesson. Pain is not a punishment. It is a lesson, but it's not a teach you a lesson like I'm going to spank you and punish you kind of lesson. That's not how it works. We learn from pain to perceive beyond it. What a wonderful learning opportunity it is to experience pain and be challenged to stand in our power in the knowledge of our well-being, that everything is still going exactly right for me, that I'm not going to let this experience of pain disrupt my knowledge of well-being, of my worthiness, of my abundance, of my security and stability. I'm going to stand mired in the illusion and know the truth with clarity. That's a lesson. That's learning. That's growth. And then we learn to do that for ourselves, having that experience, again, the experience of pain, and we learn how to do it for others, witnessing their pain. What another wonderful opportunity it is to be perceived as the one creating pain for someone else. And to know that that's not the truth, to know their well-being so powerfully, to stand in that knowledge, to not let their writhing in discomfort and disturbance with you shift you, budge you from your place of the knowledge of their power, of their divinity, of their worthiness, of their well-being. And you're put in that position and you can only get to that specific position having experienced the other first. Again, that of pain being inflicted, apparently, upon you, realizing your way around that nothing has gone wrong, that you are not a victim, that nothing has been done to you, that you are well, you're safe. This is always true. Realizing everything is always working out for you. And then again, you don't feel this impulse to create drama, but drama happens. It still happens around you. And then you are cast in the role of bad guy in someone else's drama. Now you have the opportunity to accept that this is taking place and that this is very real for them, that this is their experience, and not to deny it, to validate this is real for you, but also I'm not going there with you. I'm going to stand here in my knowledge of the well-being of all, that nothing except good can happen to any of us, and I'm accepting that that's true even now. That as much as you believe that I have intentionally inflicted harm upon you, and as much as that triggers ego to try to defend itself, I'm going to stand here and say, you know what? I will not deny your experience. Because even if I did not consciously intend to create the experience of harm inflicted upon you by me, something in me agreed for that to be your perception. There was agreement here, and I won't deny that. I can't. Everything that is created is agreed upon. Every part of our experience is allowed, is something we have permitted. So while I would say, and while ego would want me to say, to interact, to engage in this drama, that no, I did not consciously intend to cause you harm, that's ultimately not relevant. It's not relevant. The reality is your perception is that I have caused you harm, intentionally or not, and I will not deny your experience of that. but I will stand here in my knowledge of well-being and just hold this. I will hold this frequency. The frequency that includes my goodness as well as yours, my security as well as yours, my abundance, my well-being as well as yours. And is aware that nothing has gone wrong, there is no threat, there is no danger here, all is well. If I let myself get into feeling bad, then I am diminishing both of us. I'm diminishing both of us. I am of no good to you or to me in feeling bad. It is only in my determination to feel good that I can demonstrate the truth of your good feeling to you, of your well-being. That all is as all should be. Only if I am holding that frequency and feeling good in it can I beam that to you. Jesus didn't feel bad for anybody. He certainly didn't feel bad for the people that he healed. If he had felt bad, if he had seen them and reacted to the very convincing, again, illusion of their illness and leprosy, blindness, pretty convincing things, death, pretty convincing, right? That's a pretty convincing illusion of harm. If he had believed that, nobody would have healed. It was because he was not fooled by the illusion of illness, by the illusion of unwellness, anything even close to it, that illusion could not continue to exist in his presence. That's how healing took place. Because when people came to him dripping in their illness, he didn't see it. He didn't see them in their illness. He saw them in their wellness. He didn't see an ill person. And he certainly didn't feel bad. Why would I feel bad for someone who is perfectly well and healthy and vibrant and divine? Nothing to feel bad about. You are well. That's what he knew. He saw these people and knew, you are well. There is nothing wrong here. There is no harm. There is no harm befalling you. Standing in that knowledge so certainly, so absolutely, so steadily and continuously is what allowed spontaneous healing to take place. And he didn't heal them. They healed. Healing arose because it was the restoration of their natural state. He just called them into the awareness of it because he knew so surely. And they were receptive to it. They wanted to know what he knew. He didn't heal everybody. He couldn't. They weren't all ready to go there. They weren't all ready to believe that harm doesn't exist. That no harm had actually befallen them. It's the realization that you are not unwell that brings you back to the state of fully realized wellness. It's not even healing so much as just remembering your eternal well-being. That's what it is. If he had descended into the state of feeling bad, none of that would have been possible. Good feeling cannot come from bad feeling. It cannot. It exists on its own. It must simply be stepped into and held and maintained. And if we want to be of any benefit to somebody who is not feeling good, who is feeling bad, then that means not following them into feeling bad. That means staying right here, not letting shame, not letting fear, not letting anger, not letting anxiety, worry shift me from my good feeling, from my knowledge that everything is well, all is as it should be, everything is to my benefit and yours continuously. It cannot be anything other than that. Staying in that knowledge, that's holding the frequency, that's holding the light. And ego will do everything it can to shift us out of feeling good, holding that frequency because it feeds on the drama. And there's no judgment there. There's no shame there. That's just what it is. Again. So, realizing that no harm can befall anyone does not mean the end of civilized society. We do not turn into misanthropic miscreants. When we step into our power, we realize the power of all. We realize there is no power struggle. There's no struggle. That's self-sovereignty. I am self-governed, and so are you. I am not seeking to govern you because I can't. I can't. Anyway, it's not possible. Only ego seeks that kind of control and manipulation. Once it's revealed, it's not possible. It has no role to play. There's nothing it can do except try to convince you that there's something it can do. I am responsible for myself, my creation, my emotions, my experience. You are responsible for yours. We can't create in each other's realities. We cannot. Each of us is God. Each of us is divine. We are equal. We are one. We have the same infinite resources and specific attention. I cannot usurp you in power, and you cannot usurp me. It is not possible. So now we step together into co-creation, side by side, aware that we are equal, aware that we cannot harm one another, having no desire to, anyway, because again, that's all part of the egoic illusion and the power play. And thus, each of our individual highest realities is able to align with this one. We bring this one up to it, and it becomes what would be called heaven on earth. Each of us living our own personal heaven, the same way that we live our own personal hells, because that's very much what we've been doing for quite some time. It's all personal. And it's time to realize your personal heaven, because in realizing that, you are calling others into theirs. It's only from your heaven, in your kingdom, that you can stand and beam that light and call others into that frequency for themselves. They're not coming into your heaven. They're coming into their own kingdom. But you have to be in yours for that to even be possible. And nobody else can do it for you either. That's it. Realizing that there is no harm is how harm, the illusion of it, comes to an end in this experience of physical reality. Ego will say that it would create more harm. It's trying to use threat and fear to keep us mired in it, essentially. That's the only tool it has. We just realize our way around that. Again and again and again. Realizing all is well. There can be nothing but benefit to any one of us, ever. That's just the way it is. Standing in this knowledge, we realize it for ourselves. Everything in our personal experience changes. It'll be tested, it'll be challenged by ego to give us the opportunity, again, to stand more steadfast in that knowledge. So that each of us gets to the place of holding that frequency, that knowledge of well-being so steadily that we achieve the same level of consciousness as Jesus, as Buddha, as Krishna, as fill in the name, Muhammad, fill in the name, holding that awareness of our divinity and our well-being. That's what's raising everything into alignment again with our highest experience of reality, which is the true reality, which is heaven. That's it. We don't need morality to govern. When we realize the truth of self, of all self, and the higher governance that is taking place, it all falls into line. It all takes care of itself. And everything is really realized, seen to be as it should be, which is to say, working for the highest good, which is our highest joy. The joy, the benefit, the peace, the pleasure of all, always, all the time. Realizing that it's already true. It's just a matter of realizing that. That's what heaven is, the realization that everything is always as it should be, always working out for us. And meant to just be fun all the time. Blessed be.